Title: The Courage of a New Tomorrow. Eduardo was 52 years old and had spent 26 of them at the same desk, in the same department of the same company. His hands knew every process. His internal clock marked the breaks with military precision. But inside him, an old and stubborn dream refused to be silenced. One afternoon, he looked up at the office's low ceiling and knew it was time. The decision wasn't easy, but it was his. He wasn't laid off. He chose to leave. His partner would be Artur, a longtime colleague and accomplice in countless coffees and secret plans sketched on napkins. Together, they left the security of the known for the uncertain promise of their own business. Hardware store, something solid, tangible, that would carry their names. In the first days, the euphoria of freedom was intoxicating. Their plans were colorful and full of life. Reality, however, wore shades of gray. Bank after bank, the answer was the same. The no echoed cold and bureaucratic. The manager, a man named Mr. Moretti, became the impenetrable gatekeeper of the financing they needed. Eduardo's savings, meticulously saved for years, began to dwindle, trickling away to cover the household's basic bills. At home, the atmosphere changed imperceptibly. Helena, his wife, kept smiling, but he saw the worry in the corners of her eyes. The refrigerator was a little less full. Conversations about the future had longer pauses. And Christmas was approaching. A date that had always been synonymous with light and abundance in their family, now looming like a heavy cloud. Pedro, his 12-year-old son, sensed the change in the air. He noticed the muffled whispers in the kitchen, his father's distant expression while reading the bills. At school, his best friend, Daniel, Artur's son, seemed oblivious to the tension. Until one day, 2 weeks before Christmas, Pedro saw Daniel leaving the mall with his father. Artur was carrying colorful packages, lots of packages, with the logo of an expensive toy store. Pedro's heart clenched in a new and bitter way. The scene was a cruel contrast to the reality of his own home. That night, the silence at the dinner table was deafening. The Christmas tree, unassembled in the corner, seemed a symbol of something that wouldn't happen. Eduardo tried to cheer them up, talking about plans for the following year, but his words sounded hollow, hovering over their simple dinner plate. Days later, coming home from school, Pedro found Daniel again, now alone, carrying a new shopping bag. Envy, an ugly feeling he didn't like, gave way to confusion. How could they buy so many things if both fathers were unemployed? Running, he caught up with his friend. "Donnie, how did your dad get all that? Didn't they fire them both?" Daniel adjusted his glasses, a little embarrassed. "Oh, my dad went back to the company. They made him an offer last week. He even got a promotion, I think. I bet your dad can go back too. Has he talked to the boss yet?" The news struck Pedro's chest like a bolt of hope. He looked past his friend to the car where Artur waited. Artur waved with a smile, but Pedro, with the sharp sensitivity of youth, sensed something strange. The smile didn't reach his father's partner's eyes. There was a coldness there, a shadow of resignation. He looked like a man going through the motions, not celebrating a victory. But Pedro didn't have time to analyze that. The only thing that mattered was the salvation. The company wanted his dad back. Christmas was saved. His presents, the relief on his mother's face, security returning. He spun on his heels and took off toward home, his heart beating hard against his ribs. The street seemed shorter, the air lighter. He was going to fix everything. He burst in through the back door panting, and the scene he saw left him breathless. His father was in the living room alone. Only the dim light from a lamp illuminated his face. He was carefully hanging the few Christmas ornaments they owned, each movement slow and heavy. The tree, small and a bit withered, was starting to come to life, but the sadness in Eduardo's hunched shoulders was palpable. It was the image of silent defeat. "Dad!" Pedro called out, still panting. Eduardo turned, forcing a smile upon seeing his son. "Son, come help me with these ornaments. This stubborn star won't stay on top." Pedro approached, picking up a simple glass bauble. The words buzzed inside him, eager to bring joy back to that place. But seeing his father's calloused hand holding the fragile orb, his approach changed. He didn't just want to deliver news, he wanted to understand. "Dad, I saw Daniel," and Artur stopped, but didn't look at his son, fixing his eyes on the tree. "Oh yeah? They doing okay?" Pedro swallowed hard. Daniel said, "His dad went back to the company. That they want you back too. Is it true?" The silence that followed was deep, broken only by the ticking of the wall clock. Eduardo lowered his head, and then a genuine, but deeply pained, smile appeared on his lips. He finally looked at Pedro. "You saw my partner buying the presents, huh?" Pedro nodded, confused. "Son, your dad wasn't fired. I chose to leave. It was my choice." The declaration echoed in the silent room. "I want to build something new, something of our own, something that has my hand, my sweat, my name on it. Not just a position on an organizational chart." Pedro opened his mouth to reply, but found no words. The idea of choosing hardship, of rejecting the safety offered, was something his 12-year-old mind struggled to process. At that moment, the front door flew open with a bang. Helena stormed in like a hurricane, her face lit by a euphoria so intense it seemed physical. "I did it," she yelled, tossing her purse on the sofa. "Eduardo, Pedro, I did it. The loan. The bank approved it." Eduardo jumped to his feet, his eyes wide with disbelief. "Helena, how?" Moretti said no so many times. "I had already given up." She went to him, holding his hands, her words spilling out in a victorious cascade. "I went there today. Again. I sat in front of that man and I didn't leave. I told him. I told him about the honest man who worked 26 years in the same place. About the dedicated father who wants to give his family more than a salary, who wants to give them a future, a legacy. I talked about the loyal partner, the stubborn dreamer you are. I showed him all our plans, our revised numbers, our faith. He listened, and in the end, he said yes. I only left after he said yes." The world stopped in that simple living room. Eduardo pulled Helena into a tight hug, and Pedro saw tears in his father's eyes, not of sadness, but of overwhelming liberation. And then, like puzzle pieces clicking into place, everything became clear to the boy. Arthur's look from the car, the imperfect happiness.
Dad!
He wasn't sad about the presents or his son.
Dad!
He was sad for himself. Because at the moment of decision, fear of the unknown was stronger than the desire for something new. The safety of the old job, even if empty of dreams, was a safe harbor against the storms of uncertainty. Arthur wasn't a coward. Darrow understood that now. He was just different. Some people can look into the abyss of what if and see a blank canvas ready to be painted. Others only see the emptiness. Arthur went back because that's what he could do. His father stayed and fought because that's what he could do or refused to stop doing. Pedro looked at his parents, still hugging, crying and laughing in front of the small Christmas tree. The lights from the string of bulbs reflected in their tears, turning them into diamonds. In that moment, a feeling so strong and pure it ached in his chest flooded his heart, pride. It wasn't pride for an expensive gift or a promised trip. It was pride for his father's quiet courage, who traded certainty for a dream. It was pride for his mother's loving ferocity, who faced down a bank manager for her family. It was pride for belonging to them, to those who chose to paint their own canvas, even without knowing all the colors they'd have. That year's Christmas was simple. The presents were few and modest. But as they sat at the table, illuminated by the tree's soft glow, Pedro felt a richness he had never known. His father's business, now possible, would be built not just with concrete and bricks, but with this night, with this choice, with this look of understanding that passed between them. And he knew, with the absolute clarity of a young heart, that this was the greatest inheritance he could ever receive. Subscribe to the channel and receive more videos like this. Thank you for watching.